hold it there.
Okay, what's up, dude? I need to get where I'm going, if that's all right with you.
In quite a hurry.
Yeah, I am a little bit. I got really tired while I was driving, so I kind of chilled out and crashed here, so, yeah, you know.
You slept here all night?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I could have done with somewhere to stay, to be
There
fair.
are plenty of motels in this area.
Oh, cool, okay, I'll check one of those out. See you later.
I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, let's go. I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn, let's go. I'ma make it burn, I'ma make it burn.
You are now listening to the You Run podcast, the only horror movie review podcast completely run and controlled by you, the listeners. You choose the movies. You score the movies. Heck, you even review the movies. This is not my podcast.
You Run Podcast.
I've had to listen to every other episode.
You Run Podcast.
You fell asleep for a second.
I fell asleep for a minute. Next one.
This is going to be a fucking riot.
That's right. It is a riot. And it's going to be out of control. Out of my control. You run the show. All you need to do is go to our website, yourunpodcast.com.
Just make sure you fucking listen, okay?
You want to die tonight?
I'ma make it burn.
Hello, welcome to the You Run podcast. My name is Scott, and each week I take you through the movies you have selected for me to review. This week is Serious Killers Week. You surprised me this week with what you picked. We had some really big movies in the poll. So we had Silence of the Lambs, we had American Psycho. But by the thinnest of margins, you picked Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So Psycho tells the story of a promiscuous money thief who stumbles across a serial killer and attempts to flee the state. It stars Janet Leigh. It is without a doubt a classic. But the question is it a timeless classic? And with that in mind, I didn't want to tackle this movie on my own. I didn't want to potentially pull apart a timeless classic, if that's what it is. So I've got someone here to help me make decisions and help pull this movie apart and analyze it and talk about it. And I've got with me today Josh from A Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. Josh is a YouTuber, a podcaster, a huge horror fan, and generally a really, really nice guy. Josh, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Scott. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm glad to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Before we get into anything Psycho related, let's talk a little bit about you. I mean, the first thing I want to ask you is, how did you come up with the name for your account? Because I love the name for your account.
It's actually pretty much just a combination of some of my favorite horror movies. Nightmare being A Nightmare on Elm Street, Woodsboro, the town that Scream was based in, and the lake part has to do with Friday the 13th. Those are like some of my top movies, all classics. So I kind of just like took bits and pieces of those and like made my name.
Yeah, and I kind of thought that's what it was, and I really liked the fact that you'd done that. It's something that's really unique, and you can see why you've done it. And I think your name is one of the best names out there, without a doubt.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
What got you started? So, I mean, for me, it was a case of I needed an outlet to tell people how I felt about horror. Was it the same for you, or was it something different that got you going?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely along that same route. I mean, I love horror like more than anything in the world, I think, and I just wanted to like plug myself into the horror community, kind of get some friendly banter going, and just kind of make some new friends and who share the same love of horror that I do. So definitely very similar to you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of us as well. When I started, I kind of thought I sat in quite a small little niche, but when you start reaching out and talking to other people, the horror community is ginormous.
Oh, definitely.
It really, really, really surprised me how many people have the same loves and likes as I do, because I know within my family, there's probably only 2 or 3 of us who really like horror movies. Everyone else is kind of action or romantic comedies or whatever. So to find this like world of people who love it as well is amazing for me. That's what has made me push me forward to do more with the show, because so many people like it.
Oh yeah, and it started at a really early age for me. My aunt was notorious for showing me horror movies at, like, God, I think I was 5 or 6, and she showed me Child's Play and Leprechaun, and I was both scared but fascinated, by these horror movies. And from there, it sparked into this wildfire that's my love for horror now. So I thank her for that. I think one of my most memorable movies growing up was Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. I was watching that at my uncle's house, and I was getting really into the movie. It was the opening scene. The driver of their horse and buggy got decapitated, and the guy goes running off in the cornfield. And I was just so intent watching the screen that when he gets hacked up by the horseman, my aunt grabbed me from behind and I jumped, swear to God, 10 feet in the air. But even though that scared me at the time, that's one of my favorite memories, and that's one of my favorite movies as well. So it's been a thing my whole life.
And Christopher Walken in that is exceptional, and such a strange casting as well. At no point watching that did I expect to see Christopher Walken. It just stunned me.
Yeah, I mean, he's been in so many great movies, and he's such a great actor. I love him. I think, it was an interesting cast pick with Christopher Walken, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, I think.
Yeah.
They even had Sir Christopher Lee in there too.
And Christopher Lee is legend in everything he touches turns to gold.
Oh yeah. Rest in peace.
Yes, sadly. Moving away from the horrors that you like, let's talk a little bit about Psycho. We'll start off by playing the trailer.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Here we have a quiet little motel, when in fact it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
You have a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12 vacancies.
This is the first place that looks like it's hiding from the world.
I think that we're all in our private traps, clamped in them. And none of us can ever get out.
Is anyone at home?
Oh, that must be my mother.
Is anything wrong?
Am I acting as if there's something wrong?
She's not missing so much as she's run away.
Put me down! Mother! Oh, God! Mother!
What are you running away from?
She looked like a wrong one to you?
It's not as if she were a maniac. She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Okay, so that was the trailer for Psycho from 1960. That is a reduced trailer because the actual trailer for Psycho is 6 minutes long. And I decided not to put that in the podcast. So the actual trailer is, go and find it. It's worth a watch. So it is Alfred Hitchcock doing almost a behind the scenes, but he's doing it behind the scenes as if it was a true crime. And he's showing you hints of the movie, and he goes and shows you like the picture in the office that he later moves and looks through. He's like, this picture could be very important, but I don't want to show you that. And then he takes you into cabin number 1 and he walks all the way through and he shows you the mother's room. And then he's like, I won't show you Norman's room because it's a mess in there, and it's the weirdest trailer ever, but it's so entertaining. My opening thoughts on this is there is no doubt in my mind that Alfred Hitchcock is a masterful director, a visionary beyond his time, a master of horror. Horror? I can't even speak. A master of horror. Psycho is by far his most recognizable piece of work. An excellent story, excellent performances, an outstanding box office success, and nominated for 4 Academy Awards. The cinematography still holds up today, as do the performances.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
And that was my Alexa chiming in. Hello, Alexa. The thing that held this movie back was the time that it was made. So the restrictions of making a movie in the 1960s of what you could and you couldn't show on screen, that for me had an impact on it. I don't doubt for a second that this movie still has the ability to be an incredibly nostalgic look back in time. But I don't know if you can stand it up against a modern horror and it still hit all of the notes that it did in 1960 when it came out. I could be wrong. Josh, you might completely disagree with me, but what's your initial take on Psycho?
I could see how definitely for its time, it was phenomenal. I mean, like you said, like there was so much you could show back in those days, and like the ratings were really hard on those movies. And I know they like crossed some boundaries. I actually found out that it was one of the first American films to show a toilet on screen and hear it being flushed as well. And I guess that was looked down upon back in those days. So they definitely like try to push the envelope a little bit, I'm sure, as much as they could. But watching it now, knowing like all these horror movies like today and how like great the CGI and the practical effects are, and just the way that they're shot now, I did see some things that I was like, oh man, that was super cheesy. But like, I definitely could see how for its time, though, it's definitely a classic. And it's something I think everybody should at least see once.
It's almost like a rite of passage horror movie. It sits in there with kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street or a Silence of the Lambs or a Friday the 13th. It's a movie that if you want to delve into this genre, you need to go and look at where it really becomes something special. And Psycho is that point in time.
I definitely agree with that. It's like you said, it's definitely a rite of passage, I think, it's like a gateway drug into the horror world. So
yeah, it definitely is. I mean, when this came out in 1960, I imagine this was terrifying because there was nothing like this. But now, if I was to show this to my teenage boys, I'm quietly confident they would laugh their ass off for a good portion of this film.
Oh yeah. I one scene in particular that I can think of that I feel like they would definitely laugh their ass off at is the murder of the private investigator. Falling down the staircase, kind of waving his arms, and it's like he's like he's not even really falling.
Yeah. And again, it's part of the sign of the size. I really can't speak today. I apologize, listeners. Welcome to the You Run podcast, where I can't speak, but I host a podcast. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give the recommended account of the week. Then we're going to get the listener scores, and then we're going to dive into a little bit more about the movie and really start analysing it and get a good feel for what this movie is, so everyone knows what they're getting. So this week's recommended account of the week is Zombie with a Shotgun. Zombie with a Shotgun is an indie movie and web series by former guest on the show, Hilton Ariel Ruiz. He's currently funding Zombie with a Shotgun 2. What I'd ask you all to do is go and give either one of the episodes of the web series or the movie a watch. If it's something you like and you want to see a sequel, you can donate to him. He's got a Patreon. The first movie was completely self-funded, as was the series, and they're really good. Really, really good. And that's my recommended account of the week. Have you seen Zombie with a Shotgun, Josh?
No, I have not, but sounds like something I would like to watch. Zombies are one of my favorite like subgenres of the horror world. I definitely love anything by George A. Romero or those kind of horror movies, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. So I'd totally be down to watch that.
Yeah, go and give an episode of so they done a web series first that went viral before they made the movie. Go and give an episode a watch. It's got budget limitations, so you can tell a lot of the effects that it's very much everyone mucked in to get the film made. But the story concept and the delivery of it are actually really, really good. And I was genuinely surprised at how good a production it was on the budget that he had. It's incredibly entertaining. And there is another movie that I didn't say when I had Hilton on the show because I didn't want him to put him in an awkward position. But have you seen Army of the Dead?
Yes.
So Army of the Dead with the thinking zombies who are very, very intelligent and almost have a social hierarchy. Zombie with a Shotgun done that first. They nailed that better than anyone I've ever seen. And then when I watched Army of the Dead, I sat there going, "You thieving bastard!"
There was another zombie movie that was very similar. I don't know if you've ever seen Land of the Dead.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't have I don't think they had a hierarchy, but they definitely had where they were starting to think
and communicate.
Yeah. So that was a great one. So that sounds like a great movie. I'm going to definitely check it out.
Yeah, definitely do. Listener scores this week. So the movie scored a 9 out of 10. And for Fear, it got a 6 out of 10. Again, it surprised me a little bit. If I'm being honest with you, listeners, I think you scored the 9 out of 10 a lot out of nostalgia. I'm going to say that 90% of the people who scored this have not seen it in the last 18 months to 2 years. I could be wrong. You could be avid Hitchcock fans, but that's kind of where my head is. And we're going to get a little bit more in depth now, and I'm going to explain why I think your 9 out of 10 is a little bit too generous.
It's an old saying, the first customer of the day is always the most trouble.
So the movie starts at the Phoenix Hotel, where we meet Marion Crane, who's Janet Leigh. It's one of many shots in this movie where she is in nothing but a bra. There are lots. I don't know if it was intentional and if it was Hitchcock trying to use the old mantra of sex sells, or if it was for the actual purposes of the story, but her being in a bra added nothing apart from the fact Janet Leigh was in a bra. She's talking to her lover and they're discussing running away, but he can't afford it because he has an inherited debt and alimony payments to his ex-wife, which has left him broke. I really didn't like this guy. I don't know. He kind of come across as, I initially thought he was a married man having an affair.
I definitely got that too.
Oh yeah, I'm here because you're young and pretty. Oh no, you want to run away. Oh no, I can't. And it was all these excuses, like one after another. I was like, I don't like you. I really don't like you.
Just looking for a hotel quickie.
Exactly. Which, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your thing, but don't promise them the air. After this, we get Marion returns to work at the real estate office where her boss comes in with a new client. The client is buying a house for his daughter, and he's a dick. The client is a dick. He's there bragging about how he's going to buy the house, he's going to put the deposit down in cash, or he's going to buy it in cash, and he pulls out $40,000 and starts waving it around. $40,000 doesn't sound like a lot. If you use inflation to bring 1960s $40,000 up to today, he would be waving around $390,000 in cash.
Oh, man, huge difference.
So when you watch it and you go, well, it's only 40 grand. Who gives a shit? It was nearly $400,000. That's a huge amount of money. And long and short of it, he hands the money to Marion, and her boss tells her to go and stick it in the safety deposit box. She then goes, "Can I go home because I've got a headache?" And the boss says yes. She's a really bad employee, or is that just me?
I thought the same thing. I was watching it with my wife. I'm like, she's only been at work for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
she's already going home.
She rocked up late because she was shagging her fancy bit in the hotel. And then she left early because she had a headache. What the fuck?
That definitely wouldn't fly today.
No, I can't see my boss accepting that. Sorry, I was having sex. That's why I'm late. And also I need to leave early because I've got a little bit of a headache. My boss would be like, fuck you, work. So Marion should have gone home. She should have gone to the bank, dropped off the money in the safety deposit box and gone home. But as I said in the opening statement of this, Marion is a thief. And what she done is she took the money and done a runner heading towards her lover in California, aiming to start a new life.
You know, we're always quickest to doubt people who have a reputation for being honest.
While she's driving, she very quickly gets tired. She pulls over and has a sleep and is woken up by the most suspicious cop in the world. He taps on her window and starts to interrogate her in a way that I don't live in the States, you do. Are police that suspicious of everything?
Oh man. No, I mean, because honestly, as a young adult, we went on a trip and couldn't find a hotel. And one time I slept in my car in a parking lot because we couldn't get, like I said, a hotel. And they just woke us up and said, hey, you can't sleep here, and kind of just let it be. You know, they weren't like 21 questions. So.
No, they didn't ask you why you were there, what you were doing, how long you were going to be, where you were going.
No, they were just very straight to the point, like, hey, can't be here, gotta go.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, and I kind of got this. It's an outdated view of a cop. I think that's how in the 60s, I think cops were viewed a little bit more like that. And I think Hitchcock just pushed it. This is what you all think cops are, so I'm going to show you that's what they are.
Yeah, and I also kind of think it had to do with like the fact that it was a woman by herself in the car, maybe too. They're playing on like the stereotypes, you know, like women couldn't be out after a certain hour, and you know, like pretty much had to be housewives, and you know, anything else than that was shady.
Yeah, I think that's, and again, that's not necessarily a sexist thing. It is now. If you were to do that in a movie now, you'd be fucking ripped to pieces. But in 1960, that's how the world was, and that's how women were portrayed. And it's not. We all know now it's not right, but it's in the movie. What can I say? Marion, now knowing she's going to be easily tracked because the cop takes a license plate, she pulls over into a car dealer's with the view to trade her car in. Again, the salesman, there's lots of very outdated sexist overtones. Are you sure you want to do this, little miss, and all that kind of shit, which I was like, really? But she forces a quick sale. But as she's forcing this sale, the same cop pulled up. Now, did he follow her?
Oh yeah, I'm positive he was tailing her as soon as she left. Like, the fact that he was so interrogative from the get-go, like, I'm sure he wanted to follow up and just like keep eyes on her. I definitely think he was following her.
Yeah, I think he was as well. I mean, there was nothing in that scene where he pulled her over that, if I was a cop, would make me so suspicious I would go and tail her. If anything, I probably would have thought she's fallen out with her husband and she's doing a runner. That's kind of where my head would be.
I could see that for sure.
But yeah, not enough to follow her. It just didn't make any sense. But she got back on the road. She was up and running. Things were going well until the rainstorm of all rainstorms hits, and she's forced to pull over at the Bates Motel. When she arrives, it looks deserted, but she sees someone in the window of the house, so she beeps her horn. I thought that was really fucking rude.
Right? Couldn't just go to the door and knock?
Exactly. If you turned up somewhere and there was kind of no one in the office and you could see someone in the window, would you sit there and hold your hand on the horn and expect them to come, or would you go up and knock on the door and politely say, "Excuse me, can I have a room, please"?
Yeah, I think she was definitely a Karen before her time.
She was Marion was a 1960s Karen.
Oh yeah.
And this is where we get to first meet Norman Bates. I found this scene so awkward to watch, and I'm pretty sure that was the intention of Alfred Hitchcock when he put this together. He made Norman incredibly over-friendly, but uncomfortable and socially awkward. Marion was visibly nervous, but she tries to check into a room under a false name. She then asks about food, and Norman says, "Oh, there's a diner 15 miles down the road," but then offers her to make her some food because of the heavy rain, and they can share it in the house. This scene, I think, depicts Norman better than any other scene in this. He is that socially awkward. He doesn't see many people. I thought his performance was outstanding at this point.
Yeah, he definitely played the reclusive mama's boy very well.
Yeah, he definitely did. And obviously from here, Marion gets settled in her room. Norman goes up to the house to fetch some food. And then you hear an argument between Norman and his mother, where she's basically saying, "You can't associate with women like this. She's a hussy. She's not coming in my house. You're not going to have her in here to eat. That's not happening." Marion can hear all of this from her cabin. And I was trying to work out roughly how far it is from the house to the cabin as to how loud that had to be to go through the walls of the house, the a quarter of a mile down the road to the cabin and through the cabin wall.
She would have had to been screaming.
100%. But Norman returns with milk and sandwiches, which they eat in his office. This is where we find out Norman is into taxidermy. And they actually start to bond here. They find some common ground. Norman feels trapped by his mother. Marion feels generally trapped by her life. And they kind of had a bond where I thought, are they going to kiss? Are we going to get a bit of a love interest here? That's kind of where I thought it was going. But it doesn't. And it really doesn't. So they eat. Marion makes her excuses and goes back to her room. Where I think after the chat with Norman, did you get the feeling she was regretting her decision to do a runner with the money?
You know, I kind of could see the conflict. Like she was having a little bit of an internal struggle. I feel like when she got back to her room, she was pretty much weighing out her pros and cons, like that. I mean, the money was going to get her pretty far. And I'm pretty sure she was fed up with her day-to-day life, showing up at the bank and I think she wanted more. And I think that, she did have a little bit of a struggle with it, but I feel overall she decided that it was worth it. I think
because she was writing down the figures, wasn't she? She wrote down the figure of how much she'd spent of the 40,000. And I didn't know if that was, she was trying to work out if she could afford to pay it back or if she was just working out how much she had left to run away with.
I kind of got that too. I wasn't sure if she was just keeping track of her money or, if she was having like these thoughts of like, well, if I spend this now, how much am I going to owe them if I decide to go back, because she kind of, I think once she committed to buying that car, I don't know how easy it would be to return the car. So
no, I don't either. And this, as you say, you mentioned earlier, this is where we first see the first ever toilet on a screen, because she rips up her workings out and she throws them and flushes them down the toilet. So that is the first time you saw a toilet in a movie. And now I think pretty much every movie now there is a toilet in it somewhere.
Yeah, whether that's people sitting on it taking a shit or pissing, it's the normal now.
Yeah, or being handcuffed next to it like they are in Saw.
That too.
So this is where we get another gratuitous Janet Leigh with no clothes on. She starts to undress. This is where she starts to undress. As she starts to undress, Norman takes down her picture in his office. and looks through a peephole. I wasn't sure what we were getting here. I've not seen this for a long time. I kind of, in my head, went masturbation and then went, no, it was 1960. What we get is Norman runs out of the house, his office, and back up to the house. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he doesn't bash one out in his office. Maybe he only does it in his bedroom. Who knows?
He just needed a mental image.
Yeah,
and then he was going to go back up to the house to spank his meat.
Yeah, he just had a look at it, yet saved, and then run up there and done it. And this is where we get the iconic, well, it's now iconic shower scene.
A hobby's supposed to pass the time, not fill it.
Marion is showering, and then we get a shadowy figure of an old lady behind the shower curtain, and then repeatedly stabs her. And we see Bath in the tub, and then we get a shot, which is probably one of the best cinematic shots ever, of the life fading from her eyes. I love this scene. The only problem I've got is the lack of blood everywhere else apart from the drops in the bath.
Yeah, like when she like slides her hand down the wall in the shower, like they could have totally used that to like running down the side. I think that would have added a nice touch. But yeah, it was definitely lacking in the blood department.
And again, it's not me criticizing the film before everyone starts messaging me going, Psycho's amazing. I appreciate it's a great film, but I'm pointing out things that if it was done now, things they would have done differently. That would have been a very bloody, horrific scene. We would have got spatter up the wall. We'd have got the shower curtain would have been soaked. It would have been a completely different scene as opposed to 3 or 4 little drops in the bath and then her falling out. It would have been something a lot better, in my personal opinion. It then cuts to Norman screaming. He comes running from the house and saying, Mother, what have you done? Mother, what have you done? And he comes up and he cleans up. He cleans all the mess. He gets Marion. He throws her in the boot of the car, the trunk of the car. He pushes the car into the swamp, unknowingly throwing $40,000 into the trunk of the car as well. I don't know. The swamp is come to the Bates Motel, now complete with swamp.
Yeah, we've got great views of the swamp from our windows out here.
I found the swamp a really odd thing to have there. And the other thing is, would you do that for a loved one? It was a question that me and my wife had a conversation after. If your loved one had killed someone without any provoking and just done it because they felt like it, would you cover that up, or would you be trying to get them to turn themselves in?
You know, that's a difficult question because, I feel like I'm pretty close with my mom.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to the point that Norman Bates is, but it'd be hard to like picture sending her to jail or prison. But I feel like he was so deep in it and, such a mama's boy that I don't think he psychologically could handle losing his mom. I feel like that would just be the complete shutdown. No spoilers, we already know he's kind of a loose cannon. But I think that would have been the final breaking point where just he probably wouldn't even be able to maintain any normalcy. At all.
I'd like to say that I wouldn't. I'd like to say that I would do the right thing and I would ring the police and I would try and, but if I'm being brutally honest, the chances are is I would be in there with some bleach and a mop.
I'm right there with you. Picking the disposal site.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, family comes first, and you deal with it in your own way. But I don't think I could send a close member of my family to prison. I don't think I've got that in me, which is quite scary because I've just realised I have got disposing of a body and cleaning a crime scene in me.
Oh yeah, with just the right prodding.
Yeah.
A boy's best friend is his mother.
We jump forward a week now. So a week has passed and Marion's sister arrives at her lover's house, which I think is called Sam. And she asks where she is. He says he doesn't know. I have no idea where she is. But before that happens, when she arrives, he's sat there writing a letter to Marion saying how much he loves her and how much he's going to start a new life with her. He's going to run away with her now. And I think there's a good lesson to be learned here. It's be patient. Be patient in life. Don't try and force things. My mum, this makes me sound a little bit like Norman Bates now, but my mum had a saying, it all comes to those who wait.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people younger than us struggle with that because it's all about instant gratification these days. I don't think anybody, can really hold off knowing that, like, if you work hard enough for something and you take the time to like get to know someone and go about it the right way, then in the end it's going to be way more worth it. These people rush into like relationships and friendship, and you see that isn't built on a strong enough foundation to last. So
yeah, I'd agree with that. There is no quick fix for anything. Everything comes from hard work and putting time and effort in, and that's relationships, it's work, it's podcasts, it's YouTube channels, it's literally everything. It all comes from working your ass off. It doesn't get handed to you, and you know that as well as I do.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did not expect huge following overnight. I knew I was gonna, if I wanted to reach out to more people, I was just gonna have to keep putting myself out there and 100% like honest and showing my passion for what I do, and eventually that's going to pay off.
Yeah, and it will. All the time you keep pushing and you keep working at it, it will pay off. I get really annoyed at people who want it all now because it doesn't all happen now. I wish it did. I wish I could just click my fingers and have 10,000 listeners each week. I'd be over the moon, but it doesn't work like that. While they're having this conversation about where Marion's gone, we get to meet the private eye, Abergast, who's been hired by the estate agents to go and track down Marion. He comes in and in a very quick scene basically says, I think I know where she is. She's going to be in one of the boarding houses, so I'm going to go and investigate. I don't know if he went to other boarding houses first. If he did, we didn't see it, but he goes straight to the Bates Hotel. He meets with Norman, and we get another one of these really awkward scenes where Norman's trying to be overly friendly, and he's going, I haven't seen Marion. No, there's been no one here for weeks. And Abigail spots her handwriting in the sign-in book. Norman, then being caught out on a lie, becomes defensive and basically kicks him off the site. Abigail wants to speak to Norman's mother, and Norman's like, no, you've got to go now, and he gets rid of him. Abigail then rings Marion's sister, which I didn't understand because he's not working for Marion's sister, he's working for the estate agent. But he rings Marion's sister and says, basically, he thinks he knows where she is. She might be in the house. If not, she definitely stayed there. And he's going to sneak back to talk to Norman's mother, which for a private detective, I think that's quite a bit of commitment.
He was definitely set on getting answers. He wasn't just going to be brushed off. Like, I feel like some private investigators, you explain just enough and they're like, okay, and like let it go. But he was just like, nope, I just have this feeling that this is where she was at. This guy knows something. His mom probably knows something. Like, I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
I kind of quite like that in this character. He does get back in, and he sneaks into the house and he goes up the stairs, and we get a jump scare. The only jump scare in the movie, and it actually got me because I completely forgot it was there. This is where we get Norman's mother bursting out of the bedroom. She stabs him, and we get I'll let you talk us through the down the stairs incident.
Oh man, that scene. I mean, I didn't notice it at first glance too, but when he gets stabbed, she's stabbing him in the chest, but as he's falling down the stairs, he's got like a slash on his face. how did he get a slash on his face if she stabbed him in the chest? Like that's not cohesive. And then you get him like falling down the stairs, but he's not actually falling. It just looks like he's walking backwards and waving his arms. It was just a funny scene to watch.
Yeah, and then he obviously hits the ground level after he's walked backwards slowly down the stairs, wiggling his arms, and Norman's mother jumps on top and stabs him a couple more times. That scene is without a doubt the cheesiest scene in the whole movie.
My mother, what is the phrase? She isn't quite herself today.
What happens next is, again, this is where it's kind of, for me, it steps out of reality a little bit. So when there's no contact from the private investigator, Marion's sister and lover decide to head up to the Bates Motel and go and have a look. When they get there, there's no one there. No one's answering the door, but they can see there's an old lady there. So they go and see the sheriff. And if it was me and it was my sister missing, I would have gone to the sheriff a long time ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, the fact she expressed so much concern for her sister from the get-go, you would have thought that would have been the first route she would have went, instead of like this private investigator, like, please find my sister. Like, I mean, I feel with the level of severity that she's been like missing for a week, you'd go to the police.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she definitely doesn't love her sister as much as Norman loves his mother. That's facts.
No.
But the sheriff, I'll give him the sheriff his due. The sheriff and the sheriff's wife hear him out. They listen to the story. And then the sheriff kind of goes, well, no, there's no old lady there. Norman's mother's been dead for years. And this is where we start getting a hint of some things not quite right. Back at the motel, Norman is starting to have a bit of a panic now because they've had people snooping round, and Marion's sister gets the sheriff to call Norman. Norman now thinks that everyone's onto him. And this leads to another row between him and his mother, where he's saying, I'm going to have to hide you in the fruit cellar. And Norman's mother's having none of it. And Norman, she's a frail old lady. Norman picks her up, carries her down the stairs and slings her in the fruit cellar. Which I quite like this scene because she really does look really small and really frail when he picks her up.
Yeah, and that didn't quite gel with me because like when she was like stabbing the victim, like when she was stabbing her in the shower, she looked a little bit more built.
Yeah, I don't think there's any spoilers in this. I think everyone knows where this is going, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to save it, and we're going to do it at the time it comes in the movie. But yeah. The little frail old lady who's taken out a guy on the stairs, a fully grown, quite muscular man on the stairs, and she's taken out Marion, and she's quite happy to scream so loud it can be heard quarter of a mile away, but she can be picked up and carried down the stairs quite easily. I think Hitchcock done a really good job of making people question that.
Most definitely. It definitely raised questions throughout the film. And I think for, especially like I said earlier in the show, like back in the time that it was, shot and released, for me, it was harder because like I've seen so many horror movies now, like, I expect all these twists and turns, and you kind of have your own formulated thoughts throughout the movie. But back then, this was like new, groundbreaking, and so it definitely would have been like a psychological tease, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, there was nothing like this in 1960. So people are going to be questioning, going, this isn't adding up. But they, unlike you and me, who've seen hundreds of horror movies, we kind of know where this is going. That audience sat in the cinema and going, what's going on? I don't get it. And then they get the big payoff at the end.
I think I must have one of those faces you just can't help believing.
The following day, we get Marion's sister and her lover, Sam, decide to go to the Bates Motel with a plan of checking in as husband and wife. They check in, and Norman puts them in cabin number 10. On their way past cabin number 1, Marion's sister tries the door and the door opens. They get into their room, and when they realise and they're confident that Norman's not close, they go back and search cabin 1, finding one of the scraps of paper that was meant to be flushed down the toilet on the floor, with some of Marion's earlier attempts at math. It was her early attempts at working out what she was doing. Marion's sister wants to speak to Norman's mother because she knew the private detective wanted to do that, and she wants to do the same. So she sends Sam to go and distract Norman while she sneaks up into the house and begins to search. We get her finding Norman's mother's bedroom, first of all, where you see the indent of Norman's mother in the bed, like she's not moved in years. And then she goes into Norman's room. And this is where you start getting a feeling of how oppressive that mother-son relationship is, because he's what are we saying? He's in his 30s.
I could see that. I definitely would think mid-30s.
And his room is aimed at, what, 6-year-old? 7, maybe?
Yeah, it definitely was not age appropriate.
No, no, there was no posters of women with big boobs on his wall. Let's put it that way. They definitely didn't have that there. While she's doing this, Sam is interrogating Norman with the worst, most obvious interrogation ever. He's asking Norman about how he managed to keep the place going, and surely 40 grand would help him. And he's kind of spoon feeding Norman information to try and get him to slip up. Norman doesn't slip up, but Norman's not stupid, and he realizes he's being distracted. With that, it leads to a struggle and Norman knocking him out and running up to the house. As he gets up to the house, Marion's sister sees Norman coming, and she slips down the stairs into the fruit cellar, where she finds Norman's mother sat on a chair. She goes over, touches her on the shoulder, and she spins round. And this is when we get the reveal that Mrs. Bates has not been Mrs. Bates for a long time.
Most definitely. She was decomposed down to nothing but bone.
Yeah, she was. She was not in a position to be screaming and shouting and taking on a fully grown man on the stairs. Marion's sister screams, which I'm going to upset a lot of people now. Her scream here is better than Janet Leigh's in the shower earlier.
Pretty crazy, especially knowing that her daughter is is known as the Scream Queen. So
and to be fair, Jamie Lee Curtis is a Scream Queen. She is one of the ultimate final girls. Probably the only two who would come close to her is Nancy or Heather Langenkamp or Neve Campbell.
Yep, Sidney Prescott, 100%.
I think those three hold that mantle, and no one's going to take that off them. Not in the next 20 years, anyway. That they are without a doubt the queens. So as she turns from seeing the decomposed body of Norman's mum, she turns to run away, and she's faced by a much bigger built lady holding a knife, blocking her escape. Just as I thought we were about to get, she's going to die as well. The guy, Sam, who got knocked out, comes to the rescue and wrestles the old lady to the floor, and the wig falls off and Norman is revealed.
She might have fooled me, but she didn't fool my mother.
I don't know what your take on this is. So I know there are a lot of people who classify this as a trans character or a cross-dressing character. I didn't get that from this. I got this is a split personality. This is when he is dressed as his mother, he is his mother. I don't know if you got the same or you had a different take on that.
I definitely saw that as like the dissociative identity. I think that was his way of coping with his mother's death. That was like his way to hold on to her, was taking her from material form to like kind of like taking on her persona, and I did not see him as like a cross-dressing,
No,
person.
I didn't either, but I know there are a lot of people who do, and yeah, I mean, movies are subjective. You can take whatever take you want from a movie. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't think he is. That's my personal opinion. From here, the police arrive, they arrest Norman, and he gets taken back and he's sat in a cell. We get the scene that for me just was way too long and way too drawn out is the psychiatrist explaining what's wrong with Norman. That scene where he goes through and he explains about his split personality and he's disassociating, and he explains all of it, which is wonderful. And I imagine in 1960 was definitely required. But me watching that today, you could cut that scene out. I've got it. I know, I understand. And then you get the final scene of Norman where you can hear his mother's voice in his head. And she's saying that she's going to show them that she's not violent. There's a fly on Norman's hand. She's like, I'm not even going to swat that fly. It's one of the most iconic scenes ever. And then they do something really strange. They set up, I don't know if they set up a sequel or they set something up here, but the final scene is Marion's car being towed from the swamp.
Run out and get yourself some lunch, will you?
That's okay, Sam. I brought it with me.
Run out and eat it.
I didn't understand why we needed that. I didn't get it.
I mean, yeah, I felt like it wasn't exactly necessary. I mean, it would have provided closure for the sister, and the family to have the body. But I mean, I feel like it definitely could have gone without them dragging it out of the swamp. Like, I feel like that would have been self-explanatory enough that they were going to, find it, because they would have eventually searched the grounds, try to find more evidence. But yeah, it wasn't key to the movie at all.
No, and again, I don't know if that's something of, because it was the first of its type, it was very much Alfred Hitchcock trying to spell it out line by line. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. I want to show you everything so there are no questions. I want you to understand it all.
Which, yeah, with it being like we've been saying, like, the first of its kind, really, I feel like he definitely had to, because people didn't have anything to base that on, or, they might not have been into like true crime or.
Yeah, I mean, was true crime even a thing in 1960? I don't even know if it was a thing.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know either.
No, that was a long time before I was born, 1960. Well, that's kind of our take and the rundown on the movie. Let's find out what you think this week in this week's 3-word reviews. I asked you for them. I think it's time we hear them. It's this week's 3-word reviews from the listeners. So, this week's 3-word reviews, an undeniable classic by Once Bitten 1981, Mother Drag Killer by Lady Crisis 7, Don't Take Showers by Fright Swag, an underrated movie by Autumn Girl at Heart. A little bit about our 3-word reviewers this week. So you've got Once Bitten 1981, is a mixed fandom account. We've got Lady Crisis 7, who I'm hoping you all know from the show, but if you don't, she is the cosplay queen of TikTok and an incredible person. We've got Fright Swag, who's a horror account, and we've got Autumn Girl at Heart, who's a horror fan account. I'm actually going to give this a 3-word review, which I don't do very often, but my 3-word review for this is past its prime. Josh, have you got something you could fire out for a 3-word for this?
Oh, gosh. If I was going to narrow it down to a 3-word review, I'd say an expired classic.
I like that. It genuinely is. I mean, as we said earlier, it's a rite of passage. You have to watch it, but it is past its best. It's definitely past its best before date. Into facts. So we've got a fact in from the listener. They've only gone and done it. The listeners have given us a fact. This week's listener fact comes from Oh So Obscure. The shower scene, the infamous, famous shower scene, features 77 camera angles, 50 cuts, and took 7 days to film. It is on screen for less than 3 minutes.
It's crazy what they do to try to get, just the right scene. I mean, you hear all these stories of like one scene taking, like a week or more at a time. And I feel like they just want to nail it and get it perfect. And, I think like I said, definitely for its time, it would have been a very good scene. And like you said, the part with her laying down on the ground and the life leaving her eyes, I thought that was a wonderful shot as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fantastic scene. I don't know if it required 77 different camera angles. I even went back. So after I got sent that fact in, I went and fact checked it because I always do. But after that, I actually went back to the movie and I watched it to see if I could count them. And there really are a lot, but you don't notice them. They're so subtle. It's kind of like a couple of millimeters. There's kind of almost like a panning shot, but it's different camera. It's really well done. It really, really is. Into my facts this week. So Walt Disney refused Alfred Hitchcock filming permissions at Disneyland in the early 60s. And I quote, because of that disgusting movie Psycho. Back in the 1960s, cinemas used to play movies back to back. So you could turn up midway through a movie, you could sit and you could watch the end of that movie, the start of the next movie, and then leave. Alfred Hitchcock insisted that all the cinemas that showed Psycho signed a contract that once the movie had started, they would not admit anyone else into the movie. And all the cinemas signed up to that. And that's how we now have the cinemas we have today. It was all down to Psycho and him saying, you cannot let someone come in midway through this movie. They have to see it from start to finish. This movie shaped cinema, not just horror, but it actually shaped the way we go to view movies. It was shot in black and white as opposed to color, because color was available. Alfred Hitchcock shot it in black and white for two reasons. One, he decided it would be too gory in color. And two, he didn't have the budget to play with to create all of the effects in color. Where in black and white, the blood in the bath wasn't blood, it was chocolate. The final fact I've got on this is the twist in the movie with Norman obviously being his mother, or being a split personality and his mother being dead, was so well hidden that Alfred Hitchcock was inundated by applications from actresses to audition for the role of his mother. It was such a well-kept secret, even to the point that Hitchcock went one step further and told the world that role had been cast to stop people trying to audition for it. As for fuck-ups on this, there's a couple, there's nothing major. Janet Leigh actually had a body double for the shower scene. That's not actually Janet Leigh's body. And I know this because I fact-checked it, but you will spot this because before she gets in the shower, you see her feet. And when she's in the shower, you see her feet again. Before she gets in, she doesn't have painted toenails. And when she's in the shower, she has painted toenails. And when she's out of the shower again, her toenails are unpainted. And the final one is when Marion is buying her car. I like this one. This is one I went back to spot. So when she's buying or trading in her car for the new one, in her car window, you can see a member of crew walk past in the reflection. And as he gets halfway across, he spots himself in the reflection and then ducks and puts his hand over his head and runs behind a car. And he...
Oh, man.
This movie was a massive commercial success. It was nominated for 4 Oscars, Best Set Direction, Cinematography, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actress. It had an $800,000 budget and a $32 million gross. That was 1960s money. Put that into today's money. $7.5 million budget with a $300 million turnover. To give you an idea of how big a movie that is, Halloween Kills grossed $131 million. So this was a mammoth movie. Absolute mammoth movie.
Definitely was sitting pretty back then.
Yeah, I mean, making that kind of profit from $800,000 to $32 million, that's mind-blowing money. I think we've reached that point. There's a question I need to ask you now, Josh.
Yeah.
Are you ready to play Save Me?
As ready as I'm going to be.
You've heard other people take this on, so you kind of know what you're up against. So, let's jump in. Here's Save Me.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
Here's Johnny.
What's your favorite scary movie?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Groovy.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
It's all for you.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
A census taker once tried to test me.
Get out! Get out!
Oh, shit. What? He's gone.
Okay, so Save Me. So the rules are simple. It's 15 multiple choice questions. The idea is to get as many questions right as you can. You've got 2 safe points. So if you get to question 5, you're safe, and you get 10 points per question. So at question 5, you'll have 50 points, and that's safe. So whatever happens after that, you will definitely have 50 points. And again, that happens at the question 10. If you were to get to question 7 and get it wrong, you drop back down to 50 points. You've got 3 Save Me's, so you can skip it and literally skip the question. I'll give you the points for it. I'll tell you what the answer is, and you can go on to the next question. You can have an extra guess, so you can take a guess at it. If you get it wrong, you can have another guess. And your final one, which is a new Save Me for this episode, you can have 10 seconds to Google the answer.
Oh, man, better have fast fingers.
Exactly that. So here we go. Here's Save Me. Question number 1. Who directed the 1960 movie Psycho? Alfred Hitchcock, Wes Craven, John Carpenter, or Sam Raimi?
Alfred Hitchcock.
It was Alfred Hitchcock's. Question number 2. What is the name of Michael Myers' doctor in Halloween 2018? Is it Dr. Loomis, Dr. Spock, Dr. Sartain, or Dr. Who?
Dr. Sartain.
It is Dr. Sartain. It's 2 out of 2. Question number 3. Which actress played Casey in the original Scream? Was it Courtney Cox, Drew Barrymore, Neve Campbell, or Rose McGowan?
Drew Barrymore.
It was. It's 3 out of 3. 30 points. Question number 4. In Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the Freddy glove was stolen from set. What movie did it appear in? Where did it resurface? Was it Friday the 13th Part 4, Halloween Part 3, Evil Dead 2, or The Lost Boys?
Oh.
Yeah, don't forget, you've got your Save Me's if you want to use one of those, or you can take a guess at it. So that glove was stolen from that set, and it was on screen in another movie.
Oh. Okay. I'm like running through my mind here.
So you had Friday the 13th Part 4, Halloween 3, The Evil Dead 2, or The Lost Boys.
You know, knowing those movies, I don't remember ever seeing Freddy's glove in any of them, but I honestly think it would be Evil Dead 2.
You going to go with that?
I'm going to go with it.
Okay, that's 4 out of 4, 40 points. Question number 5. So this is where it now starts to get a little bit harder. If you get this one right, by the way, you're safe at 50 points. So in the movie Hellraiser, how long did it take to apply the prosthetics to Doug Bradley, who played Pinhead? Was it 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours? Ooh. So don't forget, you've got your 3 lifelines in there, so you can your lifelines. That's a different show. This one bears no resemblance to it. You've got 3 Save Me's. You can either skip it, you could have 2 guesses at it, or you could take a 10-second Google. Or you might know it and you might just answer it.
Oh, you know, to be completely honest with you, I don't know much about Hellraiser. I mean, I've seen the original movie, but how long it took to put on the prosthetics? Can I get the 2 guesses?
Yeah, of course you can. So you've got 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, or 12 hours. So what one are you going to go with?
I might be reaching out beyond my means here, but 12 hours.
That's incorrect.
Oh.
So you as you said, you're going to use your second guess, so you can use that. And if you get it wrong after your second guess, you can still use your other savings. So you've still got a way of getting past it.
Okay.
So with that gone, you've got 4 hours, 6 hours, or 8 hours.
Ooh. I'm going to take another stab in the dark here. 6 hours.
6 hours is correct. So you've now got 2 savings, and you're safe on 50 points now. So whatever happens, you're going to leave with 50 points. Question number 6. What is the name of Sam's dog in The Lost Boys? Is it Lassie, Babadook, Nanook, or Cujo?
Nanook.
It is Nanook. 10 points. You're on 60 points. In the movie Spiral from the Book of Saw, the door vault in the police basement is made by Jules Vincent. What popular 90s movie is this a reference to? The Matrix, Total Recall, The Devil's Advocate, or Pulp Fiction? Okay, so you've got your 2 savings there, so you can skip it or you can take a 10-second Google if you need it.
Ooh. I'm going to skip it.
You skip it? Okay, so that's 10 points for that question. The answer was Pulp Fiction. So the characters in Pulp Fiction is Jules and Vincent, and that's a direct reference on the safe. Question number 8. In Misery, what is the profession of Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan? Is he a DJ, a motivational speaker, a writer, or an actor?
A writer.
He's a writer. That's 80 points. So you're 2 questions away from your next safe point. So question number 9. What year was Critters released? 1983, 1984, 1985, and 1986. So you've got 1 save me left, so you can have your 10-second Google if you need it, or you might know it.
Oh. God, that's so hard because I love that movie, but
I do. It's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. I like that. I even like Critters 3.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I even, as cheesy as it was, I really enjoyed Critters Attack. That came out more recently too. It was just nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna take my 10-second Google.
10-second Google. Okay. So if you get your phone ready, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
All right. 1986.
1986 is correct. So that is 10 points. You're on 90 points. All of your save me's are gone. But you are on the next question to be safe. So if you get this right, you're going to be safe, and whatever happens, you'll get 100 points. So the leaderboard as it stands at the moment, we've got Lisa, who's on 120 points. Then we've got Vicky and Jason and Mark from MW Horror Reviews, all on 110. Then we've got me and Video Tasties tied on 100, and we've got Skellington Fan, or Skelly, is on 90 points, exactly where you are now. So if you get this one right, you'll be on 100 points and you'll be safe at that point. So which of Anthony Hopkins' roles was a contributing factor to his wife filing for divorce? Silence of the Lambs, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Instinct, or Meet Joe Black? You don't need to take it. If you don't know it or you don't want to take a guess, you can leave with your 90 points, or you can take a guess. So one of those movies caused, or was one of the contributing factors to Anthony Hopkins' wife leaving it.
Oh, God. Like, do I want to risk it all, or do I want to be safe? Just thinking at the level of like disturbancy, I kind of want to just take the shot in the dark. I mean, I know I'm probably going to go down in history as probably one of the stupidest people on your show, but I kind of want to say Silence of the Lambs.
You going to go with that?
I'm gonna do it. This might be my ridicule here.
No, you're at 100 points and you are safe on 100 points.
Well, thank God.
After viewing Silence of the Lambs in the theatre, his wife stopped touching him and stopped showing him any affection because she couldn't see past Hannibal Lecter, and that was one of the main factors for that divorce.
Oh man. When you're married to someone like that, you got to be ready for any kind of role they're going to take on, I feel.
Yeah, I think the same. Sticking with Anthony Hopkins for question 12, how many times has he played Hannibal Lecter? Once, twice, 3 times, or 4 times?
I feel like I know this. I feel like I'm going to go with 3 times.
That's correct. You're on 111 points. He was Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, and Hannibal. So yeah, he's played the role 3 times.
I knew it.
Question number 12. Which of these people is not in the movie Eight-Legged Freaks? Scarlett Johansson, Scott Terra, David Arquette, or Anna Hutchinson?
Ooh, I know David Arquette is definitely in it. It's been a while since I've seen that movie.
So you can take the 110 points if you don't want to take a stab at it. And that would put you in joint second.
You know what? I'm going to take my points. I'm going to take my points.
Okay, so you've scored 110 points. You're in joint second place with Vicky and Jason and Mark from MW Horror Reviews. If you were going to take a guess at it, who would you have gone for? So you had Scarlett Johansson, Scott Terra, David Arquette, or Anna Hutchinson?
I was going to say, based on what I can remember, I don't think Scarlett Johansson was in it.
She was.
Son of a bitch.
So you'd have dipped out then. You'd have only got 100 points. So it was actually Anna Hutchinson who was in Cabin in the Woods.
Oh.
And that was this week's Save Me. Josh, Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, 110 points. Joint second place. So that was Josh. Fucking good score. So joint second place. You happy with that?
Oh yeah, I'm ecstatic. I thought I was worried going into that there.
Yeah. Well, you took a punt on question 10, and I could see in your face you were going, shit, I might be leaving with 50 points here.
Yeah, I definitely was like, this is gonna not fare well.
Let's move into our final thoughts and some scores for this. So Psycho was a good movie. It's well directed, and in my opinion, it's a great movie for people to look at and study. So this is a movie that film students should be looking at to see how to make a great movie. But it's dated. Visually, it's dated. I found parts of it a drag to watch and slow. There was no pun intended there with drag before I get loads of messages. And it's not one that I'll be revisiting anytime soon. So for me, I know I'm getting backlash on this. I know I am, but tough shit. For the movie, I'm going to score this a 7 out of 10. And for Fear, I'm going to score it a 3. It's really, really, really not that scary. As I said earlier, if I showed this to my teenage kids, they'd laugh their ass off it. They're not going to go to bed with nightmares. Josh, what's your sort of final take on it, and where do you put the scores for this?
Like I said before, I definitely think it's a movie you got to see once. For its time, and like the budget and just like the access they had to things back then and effects and everything. I feel like they definitely did a good job for 1960. And it is a classic. I think it'll remain a classic, but definitely doesn't quite have its place in today. Like, I feel like it's a base level to at least see where horror has evolved from.
Yeah.
But it was a fun watch one time through, but like you said, same for me. I don't think I'll be diving back into that again, but I do recommend it for any of you who haven't seen it. And I definitely agree with your scoring. I was going to give it about a 6 or a 7. And for Fear, it was pretty low on the scale. I was going to give it at least a 2. I've seen way scarier shit, and I'm just like, not doing it for me.
Yeah, it's really not scary. The listeners scored it a 6, which I think it's really generous. And I would say to any of the listeners who are listening now, go and rewatch it again. If you've not seen it in the last, I'd even go as far as say 5 years, go and watch it again and refresh yourself, because it is an entertaining watch, but I don't think it's as good as you all remember it from when you watched it 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago for some of you. I think watching it with fresh eyes, I think you will see it differently. Overall, this scored a 7.6 for the movie and a 3.6 for Fear. And I think they're both fair scores. I think that's where this movie sits for me. Where to watch it if you do want to go and watch it. So there's, in the UK, you've got it streaming on Sky and Virgin Go. If you subscribe to those, you can rent it everywhere else. In the US, it's on Apple TV, Peacock for streaming. And again, you can rent it everywhere else, or illegally download it, because it's a really old movie, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it really easy to do that. I'm not condoning that, but we all know you do it. Thank you for coming on this week, Josh. I'm thrilled you come on to the show. Your account is incredibly entertaining. When I first started speaking to you, I knew you purely through Instagram, and from there I've got to know you through, you do videos where you actually talk to people, which makes a big difference. You don't just do what I do, which is post a meme but do a poll, or you'll do a video where you'll speak to people, and you do that on your YouTube, and you do reaction videos as well. So that was the next place I found you. And then you've announced you've done a podcast. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to listen to that as well. And everything you do, you pour your heart and soul into.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely want to be like, interactive with the people that watch my stuff, and really plug myself into the community. So I'm glad to have met you and some of the other people that I've met on Instagram and through YouTube. And I couldn't be happier being part of this community.
Yeah, it's a wonderful community to be part of. And I think people who don't live in the horror community, and I've got a lot of people who listen to this show who don't necessarily follow horror accounts. They watch horror movies, but they don't really tap into that community. And I've spoken to a few, and they're like, oh, well, there's a lot of weirdos. Yeah, there is, but we're all kind of weirdos. We all like watching people get hacked up. That we've all got issues. You included, lady who's saying that she's not part of this weird horror community. You definitely are.
You're just a closet case about it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Next week, we've got another incredible episode coming up. So next week, we are reviewing Dr. Sleep, and I've got Pod of the Damned coming to join me. Pod of the Damned have some rather strong opinions on Dr. Sleep. I'm not going to give anything away, but my opinion and Pod of the Damned's opinion is rather different. So next week is going to be a very, very heated episode. Also, we have, if you don't follow us on Instagram or Twitter and you only listen to the show, I'm about to launch another podcast, which is going to air for the very first time on the 15th of February, which is the You Run podcast, True Crime. I know nothing about true crime. I don't claim to know anything about true crime. I find it interesting, but it also scares me because it's real. These are real people. This is not Jason Voorhees. This is actually the bloke who lives 4 doors down hacking people up. It scares the shit out of me. But I've had lots of people ask me whether I'd be willing to do one. So I'm going to. And it works very similar to the You Run podcast. You pick the cases that that we will cover. You're going to help me investigate. You're going to do your facts and your theories. And yeah, we're going to tie it all together. And that episode goes out on the 15th of February. And for that episode, I am joined by Heather Silman from Wednesday Wine and Horror. That's going to be a very interesting episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your continued support. I love every single one of you. Thank you, Josh, again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. I was so glad to be a part of this, and I hope to again sometime.
You definitely will. I'll talk to you about that in the next couple of days. But yeah, I've got something else planned for you. I definitely want you back.
All right.
And thank you very much, everyone, and I'll catch you all next week.
They cluck their thick tongues and shake their heads and suggest oh so very delicately.
Put your hands up.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Don't forget, leave us a review wherever you can and recommend us to a friend. This is the You Run podcast because you run and control the show. To get involved, head over to our website, yourunpodcast.com, where you can record us a voicemail. That voicemail I will play on the air. Use that to say whatever you want. Are we good? Are we bad? Do you want a movie review? It's up to you. This is your show. Not only that, you can get involved on all of our social medias. We're at You Run Podcast pretty much everywhere. Join in the 3-word review. Give us a fact. Ask us a question anytime, whatever it is. This is your show. This is the You Run Podcast.
You want to die tonight?